Hey, what's up everybody? How's it going? How y'all doing? Welcome back. So for today, we're talking about a Netflix movie that is called The Son. And a funny thing about that is that a few months ago, I reviewed another Netflix movie that was called Your Son, but the movies don't have anything in common, other than the fact that they both just so happen to be in Spanish. But after watching this movie, I've come to the conclusion about Netflix movies that have the word son in the title. And the first part of that conclusion is that they are very, very good, and the second part of that is that they are fucked up. And I'm just hoping that eventually Netflix puts out a movie that's just called Their Son or Our Son or something like that, just for the sake of completing the trifecta. But anyway, the overall plot of the movie is centered around a husband and a wife, but it focuses more so on the husband. And the story is being told from two separate storylines, and the first one takes place a few months in the past when this couple are trying to get pregnant. And the current part of the timeline shows the husband with a bunch of bruises on his face, and he's in a jail cell. And in the earlier storyline, things start getting a little weird because the wife starts doing things that they appear not to have discussed before. And also in the current part of the timeline, there's some talk of mental illness with the husband. And over time, the plot begins to thicken when you learn new facts, and then the two stories intersect, and then I'll just leave it at that. Now, as far as the timeline is concerned, with it being non-linear, I think that is a very, very, very important choice. Because if it had just been a straightforward linear narrative, it would have been more so about just a family drama about this marriage that's kind of deteriorating. But with the non-linear version, it's just a psychological thriller, and you're questioning whether or not this husband is insane or whether he's onto something. And I thought ultimately that was probably the best choice. Because the first time that you see that there's a time jump, it really, really, really gets your attention. That, you know, aside from the opening sex scene 5 seconds into it. But the juxtaposition of showing you this really happy couple and then fast forwarding to a potentially mentally ill person is really, like, it really is intriguing. Another thing I thought this movie did very well was its use of side characters. Because the movie is kind of told from the husband's perspective, and he has a very, very clear thought of what he thinks is going on. But a lot of the side characters really call a lot of the things that he thinks he's certain of into question, which adds to the whole psychological aspect of it. And as far as the negatives in the movie, I would say they're fairly nitpicky. The first thing is that there are two very specific character moments in the movie that feel slightly inconsistent or out of place. But those character inconsistencies, they just seem slightly illogical as opposed to, like, just being blatantly stupid. Like, they weren't as bad as, like, say when some dumb teenager in a slasher movie that, like, hears a noise outside and thinks, oh, maybe I should go see that because there's no chance somebody could stab me, right? It's not that bad, but considering the way the characters were set up, I feel like things would have been just a tad bit different. And then there's also another thing that I'm not sure I would categorize it as a plot hole because it probably could have been explained in like 1 or 2 lines of dialogue or maybe with like a news headline, but there was one kind of big thing that wasn't really explained. Aside from that, I thought the movie was pretty great. I mean, the pacing does get a little wonky somewhere in the middle where it just feels a little bit lifeless, but at the same time, during that slow pace, like, the plot still thickens, certain details come to light, you know, things like that. So there was nothing terrible in that middle bit, just maybe could have been done a little better, I guess. I really like the music a lot, even though I'm not sure everybody else will, because it gets really, really, really scratchy at some points. But the reason why it's scratchy is to let you know that something is amiss and something is out of place, and I thought it was effective, personally. But I would say the absolute crown jewel of this whole movie is the ending. This ending is fucking wonderful. Because overall, the movie did have a fairly slow pace, but the whole time jumping aspect and like certain details that come to light, it did keep your attention, but the slow pace paid off so hard at the end of the movie. This might not be the best movie that I've seen all year, but it's definitely like top 2 or 3 best endings I've seen all year. Like, seriously, guys, this ending, like, as messed up as it is, like, if this movie had ended either 2 minutes before or 2 minutes later, it would have been a completely different movie. Because if it had ended 2 minutes earlier, it probably would have left a little bit too much to be desired. And on the flip side, if it had ended 2 minutes later, it would have ran the risk of showing you way too much, and it would have, like, demystified some things. But as it stands, the ending just leaves you with this big what the f***, and it just lingers. It just gives it to you for it to just fester and for you to just mull it over forever. Because even though it might not leave you with like the greatest feeling in the world, but like from an artistic standpoint, it was fucking perfect. But anyway, guys, overall, as far as thriller movies go, this is probably one of the better movies I've seen all year. No doubt, I would definitely put this in the win column for Netflix. So I think for a score out of 10, I think I'm gonna go 8.9. One of the best endings I've ever seen. There's a couple pacing issues and a couple other things, but overall, I definitely recommend the movie. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Have you guys seen this movie? Have you even heard of it? Have you seen the other movie that I mentioned earlier? Hop in the comments. Let me know what's up. Other than that, if you like this review, give me a like, subscribe, do all that other happy horse shit, and I will catch you guys next time.